The gun trembled in BZ Johnson's dark brown hands as she pointed it at the chest of the man she loved. Jiang Wu knelt on the cold warehouse floor, blood already staining his expensive shirt from the beating Yamamoto's men had delivered. His mother's son, he sobbed from her chair, bound and helpless. And Yamamoto smiled, that cruel calculating smile that said he'd already won. Shoot him, Yamamoto commanded, his voice echoing in the empty space. Shoot Jiang Wu in the heart. He dies by the hand of the woman he loves. That's my revenge. Do it, and I let his mother go free. BZ's finger rested on the trigger. 6 months ago, she'd been a lonely Nigerian cardiac surgeon in Seoul. Now she was pointing a gun at a dying Korean mafia boss who'd somehow become her entire world. How had it come to this? Could you pull the trigger on someone you love to save someone else? Drop your answer in the comments right now, and don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe, because this story is about to get absolutely insane. But let's rewind 6 months to understand how a desperate rescue led to an impossible love, and how that love led to this terrible moment with a gun, a choice, and 3 lives hanging in the balance. 6 months after that New Year's Eve, when BZ saved Sunny's life, the Jiang estate had transformed into something resembling a real home. Morning sunlight streamed through the guest house windows where BZ now practically lived, her modest apartment in Mapogu mostly abandoned. She stood before the bathroom mirror, braiding her hair and trying to ignore the flutter in her chest that happened every morning now when she knew she'd see him. Stop it, she told herself firmly. He's your patient. Your responsibility. Nothing more. Except it was more. Had been more for weeks now, maybe months. She caught herself watching him during their daily medical check-ins, memorizing the way his rare smiles transformed his usually stern face. She noticed how he always made sure there was honey for her tea, how he'd learned to greet her in Yoruba, even though his pronunciation was terrible. Small things that meant everything. Her phone buzzed with a text from the main house. Time for Jiang Wu's morning medication and vital check. She grabbed her medical bag, took a breath to steady her racing heart, and headed across the manicured garden where cherry trees now bore full summer leaves. Inside the main house, she found Sun Hee in the kitchen supervising the housekeeper's preparation of breakfast. The elderly woman's recovery had been remarkable. No one watching her now, animated and healthy. You would not believe she'd nearly died 6 months ago. Ah, BZ. Sunny's face lit up. You'll stay for breakfast, yes? I insisted they make your favorite. You're spoiling me, BZ said with genuine affection, kissing the older woman's cheek. You saved my life. I can spoil you forever and still owe you. Son, he squeezed her hand. My son is in his study. He's been working since 5 in the morning. Stubborn man. BZ climbed the stairs to Jiang Wu's private study, her feet knowing the path by heart now. She knocked twice, heard his deep voice call for her to enter, and pushed open the heavy wooden door. He sat behind his massive desk, surrounded by papers and laptop screens showing various business reports. At 38, Jiang Wu looked healthier than he had 6 months ago, the gauntness gone from his face, strength returned to his frame. The targeted therapy BZ had secured was working, buying him time. But she knew what he didn't know yet. The latest blood work she'd received yesterday showed his liver enzymes climbing again. The cancer was adapting, fighting back. Good morning, he said, and something in his voice made her look up sharply. He was watching her with an intensity that made her skin warm. Not the careful patient-doctor dynamic they'd maintained for months. Something had shifted. Morning, she managed, setting her bag on the side table with slightly unsteady hands. How are you feeling? Different, he said, standing and moving around the desk. Everything feels different lately. Different how? She pulled out her blood pressure cuff, needing the familiar routine of medical examination to steady herself. He caught her wrist gently before she could wrap the cuff around his arm. Different like I can't stop thinking about you. Different like watching you walk across the garden this morning made me forget every problem I'm supposed to solve today. Different like I'm falling in love with you, and I don't know how to stop. BZ's breath caught. Jiang Wu. I know. I'm your patient. I'm dying. This is impossible. I've told myself all of it. His dark eyes searched her face. But I need you to know before whatever time I have left runs out. I love you, BZ Johnson. Before she could respond, his phone erupted with harsh ringing. He cursed in Korean, checked the screen, and his face hardened into the cold mask of the Mafia boss. I have to take this. She nodded, relief and disappointment warring in her chest as he answered in rapid Korean. His tone went from stern to furious in seconds. He switched to English, his gaze finding hers. How bad? Whatever the answer was made him slam his fist on the desk. Casualties. BZ's medical instincts went on high alert. Casualties meant injuries, possibly deaths. She saw his jaw clench, saw the way his hand gripped the phone hard enough to crack it. Call emergency council meeting. 1 hour. He ended the call and stood there, breathing hard, the peaceful morning shattered. What happened? BZ asked quietly. One of our nightclubs was attacked. Burned. 3 employees are in the hospital with severe burns. 2 are critical. His voice was flat, controlled, but she saw the rage and pain beneath. This is the 3rd attack in 2 weeks. By who? Japanese Yakuza. A man named Takashi Yamamoto. He turned to look out the window at the peaceful garden below. He sees our reformation as weakness. He thinks because we're trying to go legitimate, we've gone soft. He's wrong. The way he said it, cold and final, reminded BZ that despite 6 months of family dinners and medical consultations, despite the gentle man who brought her honeyed tea and learned Yoruba greetings, Jiang Wu had built an empire on violence. That capacity for ruthlessness still lived in him, coiled and waiting. "What are you going to do?" she asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. He turned back to her, and for a moment she saw both men at once. The patient she'd come to love, and the dangerous boss who'd killed to survive. "Whatever I have to do to protect my family and my people, even if it means becoming the monster I've tried to leave behind." A knock at the door interrupted them. Kong entered without waiting for permission, his face grim. "Boss, we have a problem. Yamamoto's men have been photographing the estate. They have pictures of everyone who enters and leaves." "Show me," Jiang Wu commanded. Kong pulled up images on his phone, and BZ's blood went cold. There she was, walking from the guest house to the main house. At the market with Sunhee. In the garden with Minji. 47 different photographs over the past 3 days. "They know she matters to you," Kong said quietly. "They're establishing her as a target." Jiang Wu's face went absolutely blank, which BZ had learned meant he was at his most dangerous. Double security on the estate. No one enters or leaves without full detail. "And get me everything on Yamamoto." Everything. After Kong left, Jiang Wu turned to BZ with an expression that made her heart sink. "You need to leave Seoul. Today. Go back to Nigeria, go anywhere, but you can't stay here." "Absolutely not. BZ, this isn't negotiable." "You're right, it's not." She stepped closer, fierce determination replacing her earlier uncertainty. "I didn't survive watching my father die, didn't spend years becoming a surgeon, didn't save your mother's life, and spend 6 months keeping you alive, just to run the first time things get dangerous. These men will hurt you to hurt me. Then give me security. But I'm not leaving you when you need treatment, when your liver enzymes are climbing, when—" She stopped abruptly. His eyes narrowed. "When my what?" She'd said too much. The results she'd planned to discuss carefully, gently, were now out in the open. "Your latest blood work came back yesterday. Your liver function is declining. The cancer is adapting to the treatment." He absorbed this with that terrible stillness. "How long?" "We need to adjust your protocol immediately. There are other options, combination therapies." "How long, BZ?" She met his eyes. "Without changes, maybe 4 months. With aggressive intervention, possibly longer. But you need to be honest with your family. If Yamamoto escalates, if there's a power struggle, they need to know you're dying. You can say it. I won't say it because you're not. You're fighting. We're fighting. Together." She grabbed his hand, no longer caring about professional boundaries. "But I can't fight for you if you send me away." "I won't." His phone rang again. Then again. The emergency council was gathering. War was coming whether any of them wanted it or not. What would you risk for someone you love? Comment below, and if you're already hooked on this story, smash that like button and subscribe. The emergency council meeting in Jiang Wu's study felt like watching a powder keg search for a spark. 5 men sat around the table. Jiang Wu at the head, Kong to his right, and 3 other senior members BZ had met only briefly. They spoke in rapid Korean, voices escalating, fists hitting the table. She stood by the window, supposedly there to monitor Jiang Wu's vitals, but really serving as a calming presence he'd insisted on. Finally Kong switched to English, probably for her benefit. "We have to respond with force. Yamamoto burned our club, hurt our people. If we don't retaliate, every small-time gangster in Seoul will think they can take shots at us. We've spent 6 months building legitimacy," Jiang Wu said, his voice controlled but hard. "One violent response undoes all of it. Better alive and violent than dead and legitimate," another council member argued. "We're not going back to the old ways." "Then what's your plan, boss?" "Ask them nicely to stop attacking us." BZ saw the muscles in Jiang Wu's jaw clench, saw the way his hands fisted on the table. She'd taken his blood pressure before the meeting. It was dangerously high. This stress combined with his declining health was a recipe for disaster. "I'll meet with Yamamoto directly," Jiang Wu said finally. "Negotiate terms." The room exploded in objections. Even BZ stiffened, though she tried to remain professionally neutral. "That's suicide," Kong stated flatly. "He'll kill you on principle. Then you'll have your violent response. But I won't start a war that will kill more of our people without trying every other option first." "You're letting that doctor make you soft," one of the other men muttered in Korean, apparently forgetting or not caring that BZ had been picking up the language over 6 months. Jang Woo's response in Korean was so cold and vicious that even Beezy, understanding only part of it, knew it was a threat. The man who'd spoken paled and looked away. "We're done here," Jang Woo announced. "Kong, set up a meeting with Yamamoto. Neutral ground. Public place. Make it happen." As the others filed out, Kong lingered. "Boss, about Dr. Johnson. There's been chatter." "What kind of chatter?" "The kind that says she's more than your doctor. That you care about her." Words got into Yamamoto. Jang Woo's face remained carefully blank. And he's asking questions about the pretty African doctor who saved your mother. He's establishing her value to you. Kong looked at Beezy directly. "No offense, doctor, but in our world, caring about someone makes them a target." "I noticed," Beezy said dryly, thinking of the 47 surveillance photos. After Kong left, Jang Woo crossed to where Beezy stood and pressed his forehead to hers, eyes closed. "I should never have let you stay. Should have forced you on a plane to Lagos 6 months ago. You couldn't have forced me to do anything." "I know. That's the problem." He pulled back to look at her. "If something happens to you because of me, nothing's going to happen to me. You can't promise that. Neither can you. But here we are anyway." She touched his face, felt the warmth of his skin, the slight tremor that might have been exhaustion or suppressed emotion. "Whatever happens, we face it together. That's what family does. Is that what we are? Family, aren't we?" He kissed her then, soft and desperate, like a man stealing something precious he had no right to keep. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, he whispered against her lips, "I love you. God help me, I love you." "I love you too," she whispered back, the words feeling both terrifying and inevitable. "Which is why I'm not going anywhere." The next morning, Beezy woke to chaos. Minji burst into her guest house, face white with terror. "They took Amma. They took Mom." Beezy was on her feet instantly, grabbing her phone. "What? Who took her?" Men came to her sister's house, where she was visiting for tea. Security footage shows them forcing her into a van. They left a note. Minji's hands shook as she handed over a piece of paper. Beezy read it aloud, her voice hollow. "The doctor for the mother. You have 24 hours. Come alone to the address below, or son he dies." Her phone exploded with incoming calls. Jang Woo's name lit up the screen. She answered to hear controlled fury, barely masking panic. "Don't. Whatever you're thinking, don't. He took your mother. I know. I'm handling it. He wants me, Jang Woo. He wants to trade me for Sunny. Absolutely not. I will burn Seoul to the ground before I let that happen." His voice was the cold, ruthless boss now, the man who'd built an empire on calculated violence. "Stay at the estate. I'm coming back now. We're going to get her back." "How?" "The old way. The way I should have done from the start." He hung up before she could respond. Beezy looked at Minji, saw the same terror in her eyes that must be reflected in her own. Sunhee was 67, recovering from a heart attack 6 months ago, entirely innocent in all this. And now she was in the hands of a man who wanted to hurt Jang Woo in the cruelest way possible. By the time Jang Woo arrived at the estate an hour later, he'd already mobilized his entire organization. 20 of his best men gathered in the main house, checking weapons, reviewing building layouts, preparing for an assault. Beezy watched from the doorway, seeing the machine shift from reformed business to military operation. Jang Woo stood at the center, issuing orders in rapid Korean. He'd transformed completely. This wasn't the gentle man who brought her honeyed tea. This was the Mafia boss who'd survived 15 years in Seoul's underworld. Dangerous, calculating, ruthless. When he saw her, he pulled her into his study and closed the door. "I need you to promise me something. Anything. Don't try to trade yourself. No matter what. Promise me." "Jang Woo. Promise me, Beezy. Because if I lose you, if he takes you, I'll do things that will damn my soul forever. I'll become the monster I've been running from. My mother wouldn't want that. Minji wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want that." She saw the truth in his eyes. He would burn the world for her, would sacrifice his redemption, his humanity, everything he'd built, to get her back if Yamamoto took her. The weight of being loved that much was terrifying. "I promise," she whispered. "But you have to promise me something too." "What?" "You come back alive. You bring your mother back alive. Because I can't lose either of you." He kissed her fierce and fast. "I'll do my best. Your best better be enough." He managed a slight smile. Stubborn woman. Stubborn man. The moment shattered as Kong knocked urgently. "Boss, we found her. Warehouse district. 20 guards minimum. He's not trying to hide her. He wants us to come." "It's a trap," Beezy said immediately. "Of course it is," Jang Woo agreed. "But we're going anyway. Stay here with Minji. Bodyguards will remain. If anything happens." "Nothing's going to happen," Beezy insisted, but her voice shook. He looked at her one more time, memorizing her face like a man going to war might memorize home. Then he was gone, taking 20 armed men with him, leaving Beezy and Minji in the too quiet house with too many terrible possibilities. Minji gripped Beezy's hand. "He'll get her back. Appa has survived worse. But Beezy had seen Jiang Wu's latest blood work, had seen how the cancer was weakening him even as he pretended strength. Could a dying man win a war? 2 hours passed like 2 years. Then Beezy's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Just an address. The same warehouse where they were holding Sunny. She knew immediately what it was. Yamamoto, telling her where to come if she wanted to trade herself after all. She looked at the phone, at Minji's frightened face, at the bodyguards stationed throughout the house. She'd promised Jiang Wu she wouldn't go. But Sun He was 67. Had survived a heart attack. Was like a mother to her now. The woman who'd welcomed her into this impossible family. And Beezy was a doctor. She saved lives. That was who she was. That was what she did. She made her choice. Would you break a promise to save someone innocent? Drop your answer in the comments. Smash that like button if you're on the edge of your seat. And subscribe because you need to see what happens next. Can love survive impossible choices? Getting past the bodyguards was easier than Beezy expected. She simply told them she needed medication from her car for an emergency supply kit, escorted them to the parking area, then used a syringe of mild sedative she kept for emergencies. The guard dropped smoothly, and she was in a taxi heading toward the warehouse district before anyone could notice she was gone. The driver kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror. Are you sure about this address, miss? This area is not safe. I'm sure, Beezy said, her voice steadier than she felt. She'd tucked the guard's gun into her medical bag, though she had no idea if she could actually use it. She was a doctor. She saved lives. She didn't take them. But for Sun He? For Jiang Wu. She'd do what she had to do. The taxi dropped her 3 blocks from the warehouse address. She walked the rest of the way, hands raised and visible as she approached the building where Yamamoto held Sun He and, though she didn't know it yet, was about to spring his trap on Jiang Wu's entire rescue operation. 2 men in dark suits materialized from shadows, grabbing her arms roughly. She didn't resist as they dragged her inside the massive warehouse. The space was cavernous, mostly empty except for stacked crates, and, in the center under harsh fluorescent lights, a single chair. Sun He was tied to it, eyes wide with terror that transformed to horror when she saw Beezy. No. Beezy, why did you come? Because I'm a doctor, Beezy said simply. I save people. And your family. A slow clap echoed through the warehouse. Yamamoto emerged from shadows, and Beezy got her first real look at the man who'd been terrorizing them. He was in his mid-40s, with a long scar running down his left cheek and cold, intelligent eyes that assessed her like a predator evaluating prey. Dr. Johnson, how noble of you. His English was perfect, almost British in accent. Does Jiang know you're here? No. And it doesn't matter. I'm here to trade myself for Sun He. That was your offer. That was one offer. But I've revised my terms. He gestured and his men brought a second chair, forcing Beezy into it and binding her wrists and ankles with efficient brutality. Now I have both the beloved mother and the beloved doctor. When Jiang arrives for his rescue attempt, I'll have him too. Everyone he loves in one convenient location. Beezy's blood went cold. You used me as bait. You baited yourself, doctor. I merely left the door open and you walked through. He pulled up a chair, sitting close enough that she could smell his expensive cologne. Tell me, what makes a successful Nigerian surgeon throw away her life for a Korean gangster? He's not just a gangster. He's a good man trying to be better. He's a killer who murdered my entire family 15 years ago. The casual tone made the words more terrifying, not less. My wife, my 8-year-old daughter, burned alive in their home while I was meeting with his father about a business partnership. I came home to ashes and corpses. Beezy felt sick. Jiang Wu did that. On his father's orders, yes. To take my territory. To eliminate competition. Yamamoto's smile was a terrible thing. So you see, doctor, your good man has a history. And tonight, I get my revenge. Not by killing him quickly, but by making him watch everyone he loves die first. Sun He made a small sound of distress from her chair. Beezy turned to look at the elderly woman, saw tears streaming down her wrinkled face. Sun He had known her son's past, but hearing it spoken so bluntly was clearly devastating. Before Beezy could respond, gunfire erupted outside. Yamamoto's men rushed to defensive positions. Through the high windows, Beezy saw muzzle flashes in the darkness. The rescue attempt had begun. It was brutal and efficient. Jiang Wu's men had numbers and training on their side, despite Yamamoto expecting them. The warehouse doors exploded inward, and 20 armed men poured through, overwhelming the guards. Smoke grenades filled the air with choking fog. Beezy heard shouting in Korean, heard gunshots, heard men crying out in pain. Then silence fell. The smoke began to clear, and Jiang Wu walked through the main entrance, flanked by Kong and 4 others, all armed. He looked like death itself, cold and unstoppable, until his eyes found Beezy and Sun He tied to chairs. The mask cracked. She saw raw anguish flash across his face before the cold control returned. You couldn't follow one simple instruction, he said to Beezy, and she heard the pain beneath the anger. I'm a doctor. I don't follow instructions. I save lives. Touching, Yamamoto interrupted, emerging from behind a pillar where he'd hidden during the assault. He held a gun casually pointed in Sun Hee's direction. Lower your weapons, or she dies. Jiang Wu's men froze. The standoff was immediate and absolute. Let them go, Jiang Wu said. Your fight is with me. Oh, they stay. They watch. That's the whole point. Yamamoto gestured, and his remaining men, at least 10 had survived the assault, forced Jiang Wu to his knees. They beat him systematically, efficiently, while Beezy and Sun Hee were forced to watch, unable to look away, unable to help. She saw each blow land, saw blood begin to stain his expensive white shirt, saw him protect his left side instinctively, where his liver was already compromised by cancer. He didn't cry out, didn't beg, just took the punishment with that terrible stoicism that made it even worse to witness. Stop, Beezy screamed. Stop, please. I'll do anything. Yamamoto held up a hand, and his men paused. Anything. He produced a gun from his jacket and walked to Beezy's chair. With precise movements, he cut her restraints and placed the gun in her shaking hands. Then shoot him. The warehouse went absolutely silent. What? Beezy whispered. Shoot Jiang Wu. In the heart. He dies by the hand of the woman he loves. That's my revenge. Perfect symmetry. I lost my family to his violence. He loses his life to his lover's hand. Do it, and I'll let his mother go free immediately. It was the cruelest choice imaginable. Kill the man she loved, or watch his mother die. Don't, Jiang Wu said, his voice raw from the beating. Don't do it, Beezy. Your mother will understand. Beezy, don't. But Yamamoto pressed his gun harder against Sun Hee's temple. The elderly woman whimpered, her eyes pleading with Beezy even as she tried to be brave. Shoot him, or she dies right now. Right here. Your choice, doctor. Save the dying man who has months left, or the healthy woman who has years. Choose. Beezy stood on trembling legs, gun heavy in her hands. She looked at Jiang Wu, kneeling in blood, dying already from cancer, now facing death from her hands. She looked at Sun Hee, the woman who'd welcomed her into this family, who'd called her daughter, who'd taught her Korean phrases and shared her kitchen and her heart. She was a doctor. She saved lives. That was who she was. But right now, she had to take one to save one. Her hands steadied, not from courage, from medical training. Her mind shifted into surgical mode, precise and calculating. She was a cardiac surgeon. She knew exactly where the heart was. And more importantly, she knew exactly where it wasn't. She'd performed enough surgeries, seen enough chest x-rays, knew human anatomy like she knew her own name. Upper left chest, between the second and third rib, avoiding the heart, collapsing the lung, but survivable with immediate treatment. It was her only play. I'm sorry, she whispered to Jiang Wu, her voice breaking. I love you. Forgive me. She aimed at his chest and pulled the trigger. The gunshot echoed forever. Could you shoot someone you love to save them? Drop your answer now and smash that like button if you're absolutely shook. Subscribe because this story is not over. What did she just do? Jiang Wu fell backward, blood blossoming across his white shirt like a crimson flower. Son, he screamed, a sound of pure maternal agony that would haunt Beezy for the rest of her life. Yamamoto laughed, the sound echoing obscenely in the vast space. Well done, doctor. I didn't think you had it in you to actually shoot the man you love. But Beezy had aimed with surgical precision. Upper left chest, deliberately missing the heart by crucial centimeters, collapsing his lung but not killing him instantly. Painful, survivable with immediate treatment, but convincing enough in the moment. It was the only play she had. Jiang Wu understood immediately. She saw it in the brief flash of his eyes before he went still, playing dead. The tiny nod only she would notice. Her brilliant, dying, impossible man trusting her completely even as she shot him. Let her go, Beezy said, voice hollow, nodding toward Sun Hee. I did what you asked. Yamamoto signaled, and Sun Hee's restraints were cut. The elderly woman stumbled from her chair, collapsing beside her son's body with a wail of grief. She checked for a pulse with shaking hands, found one, weak but there, and looked at Beezy with confusion and hope warring in her tear-stained eyes. Beezy gave the tiniest shake of her head. Play along. Trust me. Sun Hee, intelligent woman that she was, continued to sob convincingly over her dead son. Now, Yamamoto said, turning back to Beezy with that terrible smile. About you. You said if I shot him. I said I'd let his mother go. I never mentioned you. He gestured, and his men grabbed her arms again. You're coming with me. Insurance. Just in case Jiang somehow miraculously survives what you just did to him. That's when everything exploded into chaos. Jiang Wu, despite the collapsed lung, despite the blood loss, despite the cancer already eating him from inside, moved with the deadly precision of the killer he'd been 15 years ago. He grabbed Yamamoto's ankle and pulled hard, sending the older man crashing to the concrete floor. Now, he shouted to his men, voice weak but clear enough. Chaos erupted instantly. Jiang Wu's team, realizing their boss was alive, opened fire on Yamamoto's remaining men. The warehouse became a war zone. Smoke grenades detonated. Yamamoto's men scattered or fell under the assault. Kong materialized from nowhere, grabbing Sun He and dragging her toward an exit while she screamed for her son. BZ dropped flat to the ground, protecting her head as bullets shredded the air above her. She heard Jiang Wu coughing violently, struggling to breathe with his collapsed lung. Heard Yamamoto shouting furious orders in Japanese. Heard the sharp crack of gunfire, so close it made her ears ring and her heart hammer. Then a hand grabbed hers. Jiang Wu, covered in blood both real and theatrical, face pale with genuine pain and blood loss, was dragging her toward a side exit. Run, he gasped, each word clearly agony. Now, they ran. Or rather, BZ ran and Jiang Wu stumbled alongside her. One hand pressed hard to his chest where blood seeped between his fingers, each breath of visible torture. His men laid down covering fire behind them, creating a corridor of violence they escaped through. The warehouse was complete chaos now, impossible to tell who was winning or losing, just smoke and screams and the terrible symphony of men fighting and dying. They burst through a side door into the cold night air that hit BZ's lungs like ice. A van waited, engine running, Kong at the wheel with Sun He in the passenger seat, her face streaked with tears and relief. Get in. Now, BZ half-carried, half-dragged Jiang Wu into the back of the van. The moment they were inside, Kong gunned the engine and they were racing through Seoul's industrial district at dangerous speeds, away from the warehouse that had become a battlefield. Hospital, BZ commanded immediately, already assessing Jiang Wu's condition with hands that wanted to shake but couldn't afford to. The bullet had entered exactly where she'd aimed. She was a surgeon, she didn't miss. But he was losing blood faster than she'd anticipated, and his breathing was badly compromised, lips starting to turn blue. He needs immediate surgery, or he'll suffocate. No hospitals, Jiang Wu wheezed, coughing up blood. Too many questions. Police reports. Investigations. You have a collapsed lung and internal bleeding. You'll die without proper treatment. Won't be the first time I've died for you tonight. He actually smiled through the blood, the absolute madman. You shot me, BZ. My own wife shot me. I saved you, you stubborn. She pressed harder on the wound, trying to slow the bleeding. Same thing. Another cough, more blood. That shot was perfect. I knew you could do it. Stop talking. Conserve your oxygen. BZ. He grabbed her hand with surprising strength given his condition. If I don't make it. Shut up. You're making it. I didn't shoot you just to have you die anyway from blood loss. But her voice cracked on the last words because he looked so pale, so weak, and there was so much blood. Son, he turned in her seat, reaching back to grasp her son's other hand. You're alive. You're alive. I thought when I felt your pulse it was just hope lying to me. But you're alive. Fresh tears streamed down her face. I'm okay, he whispered, though he clearly wasn't. The doctor has excellent aim. BZ saved you by shooting you. That's the most insane thing I've ever witnessed, and I've lived in this world for 40 years. Son, he looked at BZ with something like awe. You're either the bravest person I've ever met or the craziest. Both, Jiang Wu said, then coughed again, a wet, terrible sound. Kong spoke from the driver's seat, weaving through traffic at speeds that would get them arrested if they weren't running for their lives. There's a private clinic. Dr. Hu owes boss several favors. Completely off the books. 20 minutes away. Make it 10, BZ ordered, then focused entirely on keeping Jiang Wu conscious and breathing. She used supplies from the van's emergency medical kit to pack the wound more effectively, trying to slow the bleeding. His lips were turning a deeper shade of blue from oxygen deprivation. They needed to reinflate his lung immediately, or he'd suffocate despite surviving everything else. BZ, he whispered, his voice getting weaker. I need you to know, that shot, brilliant. Terrifying, but brilliant. Save your breath. Literally. You need every bit of oxygen you can get. If I don't get to say this again. His eyes were starting to glaze slightly. I love you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. Even if you did, shoot me. You'll say it again. You'll say it so many times I'll get sick of hearing it. But tears were streaming down her face now as she worked, her professional composure cracking under the weight of fear and love and the terrible knowledge that she'd put a bullet in him. Never, he breathed. Then his eyes rolled back and he went limp. No. BZ checked his pulse, still there but thready and weak. He'd passed out from pain and blood loss. Probably for the best given the agony he had to be experiencing. But it also meant his body was shutting down, prioritizing vital organs. They were running out of time. The clinic materialized out of the darkness like a mirage. It was exactly what Beezy expected. Slightly shabby exterior, completely unmarked, the kind of place that asked no questions. A nervous-looking doctor in his 50s met them at the door, took one look at Jiang Wu, and his face went pale. Gunshot wound to the chest. Collapsed lung. Significant blood loss. He needs immediate thoracostomy and surgical repair. Beezy was already helping carry Jiang Wu inside. All business despite the blood covering her clothes and hands. The doctor hesitated. My fee for this kind of work. Triple it, Kong said flatly, already pulling out a thick envelope of cash. Just save him. They worked through the night. Beezy talked the nervous clinic doctor through the emergency procedure, her hands steady despite everything. Her voice calm and professional even though inside she was screaming. They had to insert a chest tube between his ribs to manually reinflate the collapsed lung, a procedure that would be agonizing if he were conscious. Then they sutured the bullet wound, repaired damaged tissue, addressed the internal bleeding. It took 4 hours. 4 hours of Beezy standing over the man she loved, watching him fight for each breath, wondering if her desperate gamble to save him had actually killed him. In the waiting room, Sunhee sat with Minji, who'd been called and arrived within an hour, both women holding each other and praying in Korean and English and whatever language grief speaks. Kong stood guard with 4 bodyguards, weapons visible, ready for Yamamoto's men if they somehow tracked them here. When Beezy finally emerged, still in blood-stained scrubs the clinic had provided, Sunhee stood immediately. He's alive, Beezy said, and Sunhee's legs gave out. Minji caught her mother, both women crying with relief. He's weak. He lost a lot of blood. The surgery was more complicated than I hoped because the bullet fragmented slightly. But he's alive and stable. Can we see him? Minji asked, her voice small and scared. Soon. He's still unconscious. But soon. Beezy found a bathroom and finally looked at herself in the mirror. She was covered in Jiang Wu's blood. Her hands were still shaking. She'd shot the man she loved. She'd saved him by shooting him. The insanity of it all crashed over her, and she had to grip the sink to stay upright. She'd taken an oath to do no harm. And tonight she'd put a bullet in someone. Yes, it was to save him. Yes, it had worked. But she'd still pulled that trigger. Still felt the recoil. Still watched him fall. What did that make her? When she finally composed herself enough to return to the waiting room, she found Kong on the phone, his expression grim. He hung up and looked at her with barely controlled anger. Yamamoto survived. 11 of his men are dead, but he escaped in the chaos. Beezy's blood ran cold. So this isn't over. It's never over until one side is completely destroyed. That's how this world works. Kang's jaw was tight, and he's already spreading word on the street that Boss is dying, that you shot him, that there's internal conflict. He's trying to trigger a power struggle while Boss is down. Then stop him, Beezy said, her voice harder than she'd ever heard it. Call an emergency council meeting. Show them Jiang Wu is alive. Injured but alive and still in command. They won't listen to me. Make them listen. You're second in command for a reason. She stepped closer, exhaustion and adrenaline making her fierce. Jiang Wu nearly died tonight protecting his family and his people. Don't let Yamamoto destroy everything he's built while he's recovering. Be the leader he needs you to be. Kong studied her for a long moment. Then something shifted in his expression. Respect, maybe. Understanding. You're stronger than you look, doctor. I had to be. I shot the man I love tonight. You think I'm going to let it be for nothing? Over the next 24 hours, while Jiang Wu remained unconscious in the clinic's recovery room, Beezy discovered just how deep the organization's loyalty ran. When Kong called the emergency meeting and explained what had happened, that Yamamoto had taken Sunhee, that Beezy had made an impossible choice to save her, that Jiang Wu was injured but alive, the council's response was immediate and unanimous. They would hold. They would protect their boss. And they would make Yamamoto pay for this violation. But they also wanted proof. Wanted to see that their leader was truly alive and still capable of leading. So Beezy, against every medical instinct, helped prop Jiang Wu up in the clinic bed after he finally regained consciousness 30 hours post-surgery, positioned a laptop, and let him address his counsel via video call despite the chest tube still draining fluid from his lung and the 4 lines keeping him hydrated. His voice was weak but steady. I'm alive. Rumors of my death are premature. Dr. Johnson shot me to save my mother and me from Yamamoto's trap. It worked. I'm recovering. The organization continues as planned. The relief on the council members' faces was visible even through the screen. They asked questions. He answered. By the end of the 15-minute call, the crisis of confidence had been averted. But Beezy saw the toll it took. The moment the laptop closed, Jiang Wu sagged back against the pillows, gray-faced and shaking. You need to rest, she said, adjusting his pain medication. Can't rest. Yamamoto is still out there. Still dangerous. Yamamoto can wait. Your health cannot. She smoothed his hair back from his forehead, let herself touch him gently now that the crisis was past. Please, trust me. Give yourself time to heal. He caught her hand, pressed it to his cheek. I do trust you. With my life. Literally. You shot me, and I trusted you were saving me. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry I had to do that. Don't be. It was brilliant. Terrible, but brilliant. He managed a weak smile. Though I'd prefer we never repeat that particular life-saving technique. Agreed. She kissed his forehead gently. Now rest. Doctor's orders. Yes, ma'am. As he drifted back to sleep, son, he entered quietly. She'd been in and out all day, unable to stay away from her son for long. She stood beside Beezy, both women watching him breathe. You saved us both, son, he said softly. First my life 6 months ago. Now his. We owe you everything. You owe me nothing. This is what family does. Yes. Son, he took Beezy's hand. This is what family does. Thank you, daughter. For your courage. For your impossible love. For not giving up. Over the next week, as Jiang Wu slowly recovered in the clinic, as his chest tube was removed, and his breathing improved, and his color returned, Beezy realized something had fundamentally changed. Not just in their relationship, though having shot someone certainly altered the dynamic, but in how she saw the world. She'd always believed in absolutes. Doctors save lives. That was the rule. The oath. The foundation of everything she was. But now she'd taken a life, or come as close as possible, to save a life. Had caused harm to prevent greater harm. Had broken her oath to honor it. The world was more complicated than her medical school professors had prepared her for. More gray than black and white. And somehow, she was okay with that. Is love still love when it requires impossible choices? Hit that like button if you're emotionally exhausted, subscribe, and comment. Would you have taken that shot? Jiang Wu was discharged from the clinic after 7 days, against medical advice, but with Beezy's reluctant approval. He was healing faster than expected, his body responding well to treatment despite the cancer still lurking in his system. The bullet wound was clean, the lung fully reinflated, and most importantly, no infection had developed. But he was far from recovered. Each breath still caused pain. Moving was difficult, and the cancer hadn't stopped progressing just because he'd been shot. Back at the estate, Beezy converted his bedroom into a recovery suite, bringing in medical equipment and setting up a proper care routine. She checked his vitals 4 times daily, changed his dressings, monitored for any signs of complications. 3 days after they returned home, Kong arrived with news that made everyone's blood run cold. Yamamoto is planning something big, he said, standing in Jiang Wu's bedroom where the boss was propped up against pillows, still weak but mentally sharp. Our sources say he's consolidating what's left of his forces. He lost men in the warehouse, but he's recruiting, bringing in outside help. From where? Jiang Wu asked, his voice still rougher than normal from the trauma to his chest. Everywhere. Japanese Yakuza connections. Korean gangs he used to work with. He's building an army. For what purpose? To finish what he started. To destroy you and everything you've built before you can fully recover. Beezy, who was checking Jiang Wu's blood pressure during this conversation, felt her stomach drop. He won't stop. No, Kong agreed. He's gone too far. Lost too much. He either wins now or loses everything. Men like that become unpredictable. Dangerous. Then we need to end this, Jiang Wu said. Permanently. Meaning what? Beezy demanded. You're going to kill him? If necessary, yes. No. She set down the blood pressure cuff with more force than intended. Absolutely not. You've worked too hard to reform. To be better. You're not throwing that away for revenge. This isn't revenge. It's survival. It's a slippery slope back to everything you left behind. She sat on the edge of his bed, forcing him to meet her eyes. There has to be another way. What other way? Asking nicely. I tried negotiation. It failed. Then try truth. Real truth. Not threats or shows of force, but actual honesty. The idea was forming as she spoke. What if instead of preparing for war, you meet with him again? Tell him everything. About the cancer, about the treatment, about wanting to make amends before you die. Remove the power struggle. Take away what he thinks he's fighting for. He'll kill me the moment I show vulnerability. Not if I'm there. Not if it's public. Not if you give him what he actually wants. Which is acknowledgement. Justice. The knowledge that his family mattered. That their deaths weren't meaningless. Beezy grabbed his hand. Let me help you try one more time. If it doesn't work, if he still attacks, then fine. Defend yourself. But give peace one more chance first. Jiang Wu looked at Kong, who shrugged. The council wants blood. But they'll follow whatever you decide, boss. One more try. Jiang Wu finally agreed. But this time on my terms. In my way. The meeting took 5 days to arrange. Neutral ground again. But this time at a traditional Buddhist temple in the mountains, a place where Jiang Wu and the head monk had history. Sacred ground where violence was absolutely forbidden by centuries of tradition. Yamamoto agreed to come, probably out of curiosity more than anything. He'd tried to destroy Jiang Wu and failed. Now Jiang Wu was requesting a meeting. It must have been intriguing. On the day of the meeting, Bizi helped Jiang Wu dress. He was still weak, still recovering, and the drive to the mountains would be exhausting. But he insisted on walking in under his own power, on showing strength even while admitting weakness. The temple was beautiful, ancient stone and wood structures nestled among pine trees, with prayer flags fluttering in the mountain breeze. The head monk greeted them, the same elderly man from Part 1 who'd intervened during the standoff with Kong. "You've returned," the monk said simply. "I'm trying to finish what we started," Jiang Wu replied. "To choose peace over violence. Even when violence seems easier? Especially then." They waited in the main temple courtyard, Jiang Wu sitting on a stone bench because standing for too long was still difficult, Bizi beside him, Kong and 2 bodyguards at a respectful distance. When Yamamoto arrived with his own guards, the tension was immediate and electric. But Yamamoto looked different. Tired. Older. The scar on his face seemed more prominent. Or maybe it was just the harsh mountain sunlight. "You asked for this meeting," Yamamoto said without preamble. "Why?" "To tell you the truth. All of it." Jiang Wu stood slowly, Bizi supporting his elbow subtly. "I'm dying. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. I have maybe months left, possibly less after all the stress and trauma. The doctor here," he gestured to Bizi, "has been keeping me alive through experimental treatments. But it's a losing battle." Yamamoto's eyes narrowed. "Why tell me this?" "Because you wanted to see me suffer. To watch me lose everything. Well, I'm losing the biggest thing any of us have, my life. Time is killing me more effectively than you ever could. So I should just wait? Let nature take its course." "Yes. And while you wait, let me do something that matters. Let me honor your family properly. Not with scholarships that feel like blood money or gardens that feel like guilt, but with truth. Public acknowledgement of what I did, of what I took from you." Yamamoto went very still. "You'd admit it? Publicly? That you murdered my family?" "Yes. In a statement that will be released after I die. Full confession. Names, details, everything. Your family's story will be told. Their deaths will be remembered. And I'll take full responsibility." "Why after you die?" "Why not now? Because now it protects people who gave orders. After I die, those people lose their shield. The truth comes out without putting my mother or sister at risk of retaliation." Bizi watched Yamamoto's face, saw the war happening behind his eyes. This was what he'd wanted, wasn't it? Acknowledgement. Justice of a sort. But perhaps he'd spent so long planning revenge that peace felt impossible to accept. "And what about her?" Yamamoto nodded toward Bizi. "The doctor who shot you? Saved me," Jiang Wu corrected. "By shooting me. Yes. She'll be in the statement too. The whole truth. How she's been treating me. How she made an impossible choice to save my mother. How she's been fighting to give me more time." "You love her?" "Yes." "And she loves you, even knowing what you've done?" "Yes." Yamamoto turned to Bizi directly. "Why? Why love a dying killer?" "Because people are more than their worst moments," Bizi said quietly. "Because he spent the last year trying to be better. Because love isn't conditional on perfection. And because I've seen what revenge does to people, it hollows them out. I won't let that happen to the man I love. Or to you. I'm not your concern. You are when your revenge hurts people I care about." A long silence fell over the temple courtyard. Prayer flags snapped in the wind. Somewhere a bell chimed softly. Finally, Yamamoto spoke. "I'll accept your offer. The confession after your death. Public acknowledgement. My family's story told truthfully." He paused. "But I have one additional condition." "Name it," Jiang Wu said. "I want to be the one who reads the confession. Who tells their story. Not some reporter or lawyer. Me. Their last family member. Let me give them voice." Jiang Wu nodded immediately. "Agreed. You'll have the confession 1 week before my death, according to Dr. Johnson's best medical estimate. You can decide how and when to release it. And if you survive longer than estimated, then you hold on to it until the time comes. But trust me," Jiang Wu's smile was sad, "the time is coming soon enough." They shook hands. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't even really peace. But it was a ceasefire. An understanding. A choice to stop making things worse. As Yamamoto left, the old monk approached. "You did well," he said to Jiang Wu. "I gave him what he wanted. That's not the same as doing well. You gave him closure. That's more valuable than victory." The monk looked at Bizi. "And you, doctor? You've changed him. Made him see that vulnerability isn't weakness." "I just love him," Bizi said simply. "That's exactly what I mean." On the drive back to Seoul, Jiang Wu was quiet, processing everything. Finally he spoke. "I meant what I said about the confession. After I die, the truth comes out. All of it. I know. It might affect you too. Your reputation. The medical board might reconsider your license. I don't care. The truth is the truth. Let it come out." He took her hand, squeezed weakly. "How did I get so lucky? You saved your mother from choking, and I happened to be there. Pure chance. Best chance of my life." 2 weeks later, Jiang Wu's health took a sharp decline. The cancer, accelerated by stress and trauma, was spreading faster. His liver function was deteriorating rapidly. The bone metastases were causing constant pain. BZ adjusted his medications, added more pain management, did everything she could. But they both knew what was happening. The experimental treatments were failing. His body was giving up the fight. They had weeks now. Maybe a month if they were very lucky. It was time to start saying goodbye. How do you say goodbye to someone you just found? Smash that like button if you're not ready for this. Subscribe and comment. Is this how it ends? Minji was the first to notice the shift. Her brother, who'd been slowly recovering from the gunshot wound, suddenly seemed to be declining in other ways. Moving slower, sleeping more, eating less, the color draining from his face day by day. BZ. She cornered the doctor in the hallway one afternoon. Tell me the truth. How bad is it? BZ looked at the young woman who'd become like a sister to her. There was no point in lying. The cancer is spreading faster than before. The stress from the shooting, the trauma, it accelerated everything. He needs more aggressive treatment, but I don't know if his body can handle it. What are you saying? I'm saying we need to do something radical. Something that might kill him or save him. And we need to do it soon. That night, BZ sat in Jiang Wu's study, reviewing every experimental treatment protocol she could find. There had to be something. Some combination therapy, some clinical trial, some desperate measure that could buy him more time. She was so absorbed in research she didn't hear him enter until he spoke. You should be sleeping. She looked up to find him in the doorway, looking exhausted but determined. So should you. Can't sleep when I know you're down here trying to save me again. He crossed to where she sat, settled carefully into the chair beside her. The gunshot wound was healing well, but movement still caused pain. BZ, we need to talk about reality. I am talking about reality. These treatments are long shots. You know it. I know it. He took her hand gently. I'm dying. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but soon. We need to accept that. I don't accept it. I won't. She gripped his hand fiercely. There's a trial in Tokyo. Experimental immunotherapy. It's dangerous, but... Tokyo. He raised an eyebrow. The city where Yamamoto has connections. Yamamoto made peace with us. He's not a threat anymore. You don't know that. And even if the trial works, even if I survive the treatment itself, the cancer will eventually adapt. When? It always does with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Not always. There are survivors. People who beat the odds. And you think I'm one of them? I think you're a stubborn man who's survived worse. I think you deserve to fight for every day you can get. And I think, her voice broke, I think I can't lose you. Not yet. Not when we just found each other. He pulled her close, let her bury her face in his shoulder. I'm not giving up. But I'm also not going to spend my last months chasing miracles that probably won't come. I want quality. Time with you. With Uma and Minji. Not hospital rooms and treatment side effects. The Tokyo trial could give you years. Or kill me in weeks. Those are the odds with experimental immunotherapy. So we don't try? We just accept defeat. We accept reality and make the most of whatever time we have. He tilted her face up to look at him. But if this trial means that much to you, if you need to feel like we tried everything, then okay. We'll go to Tokyo. We'll try. Hope flared in her chest. Really? Really? But on one condition. What? If it doesn't work, if the treatment fails or the side effects are too much, we stop. No more experimental protocols. No more desperate measures. We spend my final time actually living, not just trying not to die. Deal. She wanted to argue. Wanted to say they'd keep fighting no matter what. But she saw the wisdom in his eyes. The peace he'd found with his mortality. And she realized he was giving her this. One more chance to try. One more hope to hold. Even though he'd already made peace with dying. Deal, she whispered. 3 days later, they were on a private medical flight to Tokyo. Son, he insisted on coming. Minji closed the gallery temporarily to join them. Even Kong came, leaving the organization in trusted hands, unwilling to let his boss face this alone. The research hospital was cutting edge, all glass and steel and the latest technology. Dr. Tanaka, the lead researcher, reviewed Jiang Wu's case with grave concern. The cancer is very advanced. Stage 4 with multiple metastases. Normally we wouldn't accept a patient this far progressed, but Dr. Johnson's advocacy was compelling. BZ had called in every favor, contacted every colleague, begged and argued until they'd agreed to take him. What are his chances? Sunny asked, her English careful and precise. Honestly, 20% chance of significant response, 30% chance of some improvement, 50% chance the treatment does nothing or makes things worse. Dr. Tanaka looked at Jiang Wu. The side effects will be severe. Fever, nausea, organ stress. Your body will be fighting itself to fight the cancer. It's not pleasant. I've survived worse, Jiang Wu said, though BZ saw the lie in his eyes. He was scared, trying to hide it, but scared. They started treatment the next day. The immunotherapy was administered through 4, a clear liquid that looked harmless but packed the power to either save him or kill him. BZ sat beside him the entire 6-hour infusion, holding his hand, monitoring every vital sign. "How do you feel?" she asked as the last of the medication entered his bloodstream. "Like I just invited World War III into my body." But he smiled. "Thank you. For fighting for me. For not giving up. I'll never give up on you." That night, the reaction hit. Fever spiked to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Violent chills racked his body. He vomited until there was nothing left. BZ stayed with him through all of it, cooling his forehead with damp cloths, adjusting medications, whispering encouragements in English and broken Korean. "Son," he prayed in the corner. Minji paced. Kong stood guard at the door, as if he could protect his boss from the enemy inside his own body. For 3 days, Jang-woo suffered. BZ barely slept, terrified that if she looked away for even a moment, she'd lose him. The hospital staff assured her this was normal, expected, even a good sign that his immune system was responding. But watching the man she loved suffer was its own kind of torture. On the 4th day, the fever broke. Jang-woo opened his eyes, truly opened them, clear and aware, for the first time since treatment began. "Hey," he whispered, his voice rough from disuse. "Hey yourself." BZ's smile was watery with relief. "Welcome back. Did it work? Am I cured? Too soon to tell. But you survived the first round. That's huge. How many more rounds?" "4 more. 1 every 2 weeks. Then we scan to see if it's working." He groaned. "I have to do that 4 more times." "Afraid so. You better be worth it, Dr. Johnson." "I am. Trust me." Over the next 8 weeks, they developed a rhythm. Treatment. Suffering. Recovery. Repeat. Each round was brutal, but each round was also survivable. And slowly, incrementally, Jang-woo started to look better between treatments. More color in his face. More energy. Small signs that maybe, just maybe, something was working. The scans came after the 5th and final treatment. Dr. Tanaka reviewed them for what felt like hours while the family waited in a conference room, barely breathing. Finally, the doctor entered with an expression BZ couldn't read. "The tumors," he said slowly, "have not grown." "What does that mean?" "Son," he asked. "It means we've stopped progression. In 3 of the bone metastases, we're seeing actual shrinkage. In the liver, the lesions are stable. The primary tumor in the pancreas has reduced by approximately 20%. The room erupted. Minji sobbed with relief. "Son," he grabbed Jang-woo's face, kissing his forehead repeatedly while speaking rapid Korean. Kong actually smiled, a rare sight. But BZ stayed focused on the doctor. "What does this mean for prognosis?" "It means he's in the 30% who respond. The cancer isn't gone, but it's controlled. With continued treatment every 3 months, he could have years. Not decades, but years. Quality years. Years. Not the 4 months he'd been given. Not the death sentence they'd been living under. Years." BZ looked at Jang-woo, saw the shock and hope and disbelief on his face. "Years," he repeated, like he couldn't believe it. "Years," Dr. Tanaka confirmed. "The treatment is working. You're one of the lucky ones." That night, back at their hotel overlooking Tokyo's glittering skyline, Jang-woo held BZ close. "You did it. You saved me. Again. We're not out of the woods. You'll need maintenance treatment. Regular monitoring. This could still fail." He kissed her to shut her up. "Stop. For once, stop being a doctor and just be my wife. Let me celebrate being alive." Okay, yes. Celebrate. You're alive. You're going to live." She started crying and laughing at the same time. "You're going to live. We're going to live. Together. For years." He wiped her tears. "What do you want to do with those years?" "Everything. I want to do everything with you." "Everything is a lot. Then we better get started." 2 weeks later, they returned to Seoul. The estate had never looked more beautiful. Sun Hee threw a celebration dinner with all of Jang-woo's favorite foods. Minji gave a tearful toast about stubborn brothers and miracle doctors. Even Kong got emotional, which made everyone else cry because Kong never showed emotion. But the real celebration came later, when it was just BZ and Jang-woo in their bedroom. The door locked, the world shut out. "I was preparing to lose you," she admitted in the darkness. "Had accepted it, made peace with it. And now suddenly we have years." "Scared?" he asked. "Terrified. What if it stops working? What if? Then we deal with it when it happens. But tonight we have this. We have now. We have each other. That's enough." "Is it?" "It's everything." She believed him. Or at least, she tried. 6 months after Tokyo, Jang-woo was healthier than he'd been in 2 years. The cancer was still there. It would always be there, but it was controlled. Sleeping. Not growing. He'd officially stepped back from the organization, letting Kong lead while he served as advisor. The reformation continued. The legitimate businesses thrived. The scholarship fund grew. Yamamoto's garden had become one of Seoul's most visited peaceful spaces. Everything they'd fought for was working. One morning, BZ woke to find Jang-woo already awake. watching her with that intensity that still made her heart race after over a year together. What? She asked sleepily. I'm alive, he said with wonder. I'm alive and you're here, and this is real. This is real. For how long? I don't know. No one knows. But that's true for everyone, not just you. No one gets guarantees. I want to marry you again. Properly this time. Big ceremony. All our people. Celebrate life, not death. We're already married. Then let's renew our vows. Let's celebrate that we beat the odds. That love and medicine and stubborn determination won. She smiled. Okay, yes, let's celebrate. But even as she agreed, even as they started planning, even as life returned to something resembling normal, BZ couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. That their peace was temporary. That fate had other plans. 3 days before the vow renewal ceremony, she got a call from Dr. Tanaka in Tokyo. Dr. Johnson, I need to discuss Mr. Zhang's latest scans. Her blood went cold. What's wrong? Nothing. Yet. But there's a shadow on his liver. Small. Could be nothing. Could be the cancer adapting. He needs to come in immediately for additional testing. She hung up and stood frozen in their bedroom, the wedding dress hanging in the closet behind her, the future they'd been planning suddenly uncertain again. Zhang Wu found her like that 20 minutes later. Busy? What happened? She told him. Watched his face change from happy to guarded to accepting. So it might be back, he said calmly. Too calmly. Might be. We don't know yet. Could be scar tissue, or inflammation, or the cancer adapting like it always does. We don't know that. But it's possible. Yes, it's possible. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, do we cancel the ceremony? Do you want to? No. If I'm dying, again, I want to celebrate first. I want to renew those vows. I want everyone to see us choose each other. And then we'll deal with whatever comes next. You're sure? I'm sure. So they didn't cancel. 3 days later, surrounded by everyone they loved, under cherry blossoms in full bloom, BZ and Zhang Wu renewed their vows. Promised forever, even though forever might be shorter than they hoped. Chose each other again. Publicly. Proudly. And the next day, they flew to Tokyo for tests that would tell them if their borrowed time was up. In the airplane, Zhang Wu held BZ's hand. Whatever happens, he said, we had this. We have this. That's more than I ever thought I'd get. Me too. No regrets. No regrets. You. Not a single one. The plane cut through clouds toward Tokyo, toward answers, toward whatever came next. Behind them, Seoul disappeared into distance. Ahead, the future waited, uncertain, terrifying, full of possibilities both beautiful and terrible. But they faced it together. And that made all the difference. Will the cancer return? What did the tests show? Can love survive when death keeps coming back? Smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on more stories. Comment, #SaveJangWoo and tell us where you're watching from.